And welcome back to the Indian Northwoods. I'm out here in front of Dishy McFlatface, who is above me, slinging the internet about our house. Today I'm going to do a little video on my expanded network I'm going to be introducing. For the last however long I've had Starlink, for the last 9 months or so, I've been using mostly the Starlink router for the main Wi-Fi access in the house, and then I've had another ASUS router that I've kind of intermingled here and there, and I needed to expand my network, get the internet out to my shop because I like spending some time out there, but with it being a completely steel shed, you don't get any cell phone signal. I can't get the Wi-Fi out there. It's 250 feet away. So I needed some way to expand my network from the house out to the shed. So I was talking to another YouTuber, Haven Pines, and he introduced me to TP-Link, the Omada network hardware. So what I did some research. I purchased the whole bunch of different pieces of hardware, a router, a network switches, access points, and I'm going to install that here in my network around the house and integrate it with the Starlink system. So a big shout out to Jonathan from Haven Pines for introducing me to this system. I think it'll really improve my network access especially my shop, but it's going to really improve the overall access of the network through the whole house as well. So before I go to the install, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below what you think about the TP-Link Omada and Starlink, and hopefully you enjoy this content. Let's go. All right, so here's my problem. House is here, and 250 feet that way is the shop. I like to have internet in the shop. The metal roof, the metal siding really causes an issue with accessing cell phone signal or text messages, etc. I always have to have my phone sitting in the window. And last year I buried a direct burial Ethernet cable from the edge of the house, from in the basement, in the ground, underneath the driveway, past the shed, over and into the shop, and it lasted for maybe 6 to 8 months. And this spring I lost connection. It's been out for a month or two now, and I haven't been able to get it back. And I suspect that the direct burial cable probably broke, Ethernet cable probably broke with driving the RV over top of it. I didn't bury it very deep, so that was probably the issue. So what's nice with the TP-Link Omada system is I can use access points, and I can mount an access point on the outside of my house right here in the corner, and it has direct line of sight all the way out to the shop out there. And I'll mount another access point out on the outside of the shop out there, and then those two access points will talk to each other depending on the configuration that they're set up in. And then from there I can have another Wi-Fi router on the inside of the shop that will just also expand that signal inside the shop. So let's go unbox the stuff. I already ran, you can kind of see one here, I'll get you up there. I already ran Cat 5e through the attic, and I already ran Cat 5e out in the shop. I already ran Cat 5e for the new access point in the house. So all the cables are in their spots now. I just gotta hook up the hardware and get it configured. So here we go. So how does this system, the TP-Link Omada system, replace the Starlink router? And what it actually is, here, let's move you down here for a second, is your typical router contains, or what you get from like Starlink or ASUS router. It's a router, it's also a Wi-Fi access point, there's a network switch, there's all these things combined into one device. With the TP-Link Omada system, you have multiple devices for the different parts. So here's the Gigabit VPN router, and then that will go into power over Ethernet switch, Gigabit switch, and then from there the internet is spread out into the different access points. So I've got two EAP 225 access points, one for in the house and one for in the shop. And then also going to be split into an outdoor access points, which is, I have two of these. These are going to be my wireless bridge, the EAP 225 outdoor access points. And I have another power over Ethernet switch for in the shop here as well. So instead of having one device such as the Starlink router or an ASUS router or whatever you want to use in your system, you have multiple devices. And what's nice with this system is it's fully expandable. The Omada software, controller software, you can add another access point. Let's say I want an access point on each end of my house to cover out in the yard. I can just wire in those access points, and the Omada system will fully adopt those access points, and you only have one Wi-Fi if you want, and your phone always or device will always connect to that same Wi-Fi password or Wi-Fi connection. So let's get this stuff unboxed out here in the shop. I'm out here in the shop first. I'm gonna get this side set up first. I already have the Ethernet cables run. I only need one run from out here in this corner up into the outside. So I'm gonna get these things unboxed and we'll get them installed, and we'll go in the house, same thing, get it installed and get it set up. So here we go. So what's nice with these access points is they're all power over Ethernet, and that's why we have a PoE switches. The actual power for these devices are coming from the switches and going through the Ethernet cable, Cat5e in this case. Okay, here's the first access point. Just getting it installed now. I'm going to come back through and do some more waterproofing once I'm done. Alright, Ethernet cable's installed. Maybe put a little cable protector on there too. They want the antennas to be about 45 degrees for best signal. Alright, so here's the first access point installed on the exterior of the house or the shop. I might move it up a little bit once I get it working. Move it up an inch or two to get a little bit of stress off this cord, but it'll be fine for right now. Okay, here's the interior access point that's going on the inside of the shop here. We'll plug the Ethernet cable in the back. It's a ceiling mount. And then see if I can't get these guys in here. Like that, there it is. Alright, so I got the network switch, power over Ethernet switch hooked up here. And basically the access point that's outside is coming in on this white Ethernet cable here, it's Cat5e, and is basically the outdoor access point is receiving the signal from the house, bringing it into the switch, and then the switch is going to disperse it out to the access point here on the ceiling. And then I also can connect my TV or whatever else into the switch if I need to in the future. So we'll go in the house now and hook up the rest of the system. Alright, so here's the other outdoor access point installed on the exterior of the house. And this will be coming from the power over Ethernet switch that's in the basement. I've got the Ethernet cable running up to the attic, down through a piece of pipe that goes down into the basement, and over to where my networking stuff is at. Alright, so down here in the basement of the house, got the Starlink router disconnected from the system, and we now have the Omada router hooked up. This is the wire coming from the Starlink dish power supply going into the router, and then I have a Ethernet cable coming out of the router into my original network switch to connect everything else I had still connected. You can still see there's activity on there. Then I have another cable, patch cable coming out, going into the PoE network switch here. And then here's two cables going out to the access points, the one up in the living room and then the one outside. So I'm going to go outside and plug in. I have a sneaky suspicion that the port that the access point that's out in my shop is hooked up to is not powered. So I will have to plug in the power adapter for that one, I believe. But I will go do that with this Ethernet cable here. And then we'll see what we can do about getting this thing hooked up. It appears that internet is working. I haven't configured the system yet, but with my network switch hooked up, and this is hardwired to the whole system, this PC, so I'm able to get it all working. Alright, so I'm going to go to the web. I'm going to go to Omada's controller software. So that's the first step in getting this set up. Now, the Omada controller software will work on a PC. They also have the Omada controller hardware, which is about $85. I actually have that ordered, and it's going to be delivered sometime in the next week. Because if you use the Omada controller software, you need to constantly have the computer on, from my understanding. So I don't know if this computer is always going to be on. It'll be on in the next for the next week, but I want to get that hardware to make sure that the network is always operational. So I'm going to download the software. And 94 megs shouldn't take too long. Alright, so first time opening Omada controller. Omada controller opens up. Let's get started. We're home. Central time. Next. Alright, let's see what it sees. It only sees the one outdoor device, which is one in the house. So we'll have to do some troubleshooting on that. Network name. Alright, so here I went into devices once I got into the Omada software, and these are all the devices that I had on here, and now it's seeing the outdoor that's sitting out on my shop. So this is the one that's connected in the house, hardwire. Now it's pending this wireless connection. I'm going to adopt it to the network. And now we see it's also seeing the other access point that's out in the garage as well. Alright, well, I think I got it mostly working right now. I've got the Wi-Fi signal in the house at least working, and it says it recognizes the access points in the garage. Once I got into the system and I saw that the shop was there, or the shop exterior access point, outdoor access point was ready to be adopted, and shortly after I started adopting the outdoor access point, the access point that's sitting on the interior was recognized. So now I need to go out and see if I've got internet out in the garage. I should. I mean, I'm connected to the Wi-Fi network on my phone right now, and sitting down here in the basement, we are sitting at 95%. So we'll go outside and check out what's going on. All right, as I get outside here, pretty much in between the garage and the house, I'm about halfway between. I dropped down about 50%. Now I'm back up to 50%. I think it's trying to bounce between 48%, 86. Now I'm getting closer to the garage and my percentage is going up. 87%, 95%. So I'm wondering if, I'm guessing that access point on the exterior of the garage is giving up signal. We'll see. So with the access point, root access point, when I was out on the controller, it stated that the signal strength was minus about 75 decibel dBms, and so that would equate to maybe like a 75% Wi-Fi signal of the connection between the two access points. So it's working, but it's not full strength, so that's maybe why we are seeing reduced speeds in the shop, which is fine. I'm not too worried about that. I just want to have some sort of internet out there connection. So now we must be reconnected to the house side. 88% again, halfway between. Might have to put another access point on the other side of the house. We got Wi-Fi all over the yard. Okay, so I spent a little time and made a couple more modifications to the system, and I was, number one, able to get the Starlink statistics to be available on the app on your phone, and also through the browser using the 192.168.100.1 IP address. Let's take a look and see what the actual overall network looks like. We can just use the map that's on the Omada software, and here we can see we have the internet working its way in and goes into the router, and from the router we have a PoE switch, which is pushing all of the information out to all the access points, and then I also have another switch here that I had established before for all my hardwired devices. Then we also have the Omada controller, which is actually this computer connected in through this client group. From the PoE switch, which is a TP-Link Omada device, it goes into and spreads to two different devices. So it actually goes into the house shop out, which is the outdoor access point, and then I also have the access point in the house, just putting out Wi-Fi signal through the house. The house shop out device is actually pushing internet across out to the shop out access point, Wi-Fi through wireless connection. And I think this client group one here is actually my phone, as I was just outside, and it's going to need to update here. And then from the shop out is actually thinking that this shop Wi-Fi or access point is connected to the PoE switch, but it's actually connected to the shop out device out here. So this really should be out on this end, but it's not. So that's the basic connection and setup for the Omada system with the Starlink internet. And there is no Starlink router. This connection between internet and router is basically coming right from the Starlink Gigabit flat face. So it works pretty slick. There's no Starlink router anywhere in this system. And then let's take a look at, I was able to get the Starlink system, the statistics available on the app. And to do that, all I had to go do is go into the settings, and in the transmission area there's a routing setting, and I added a Starlink static route. And if I go into the action and edit it, we can see that I assigned the destination IP address with a subnet of 32, interface, and WAN interface. And that's all I did, and that allowed or enabled the Starlink app to access the stats that's coming from the Gigabit flat face, and also allowed the stats to be available in a browser through 192.168.100.1. And we can see that the stats are working right now. So let's do some speed tests quickly, just to see what we're doing with this hardwire connection. This is the best connection we can do, and it's going to go to Chicago because that's where the best latency is. Not necessarily the best location and not the best latency on this first test, but the speeds are up there. We'll do another speed test here. That was better. 23 milliseconds. It's one of the better pings I've gotten. So overall, I mean, the TP-Link Omada system was pretty easy to set up. It was kind of complex to think about at first when I was first introduced, but once you start investigating some typical network maps of how the things are connected, it really is quite simple to self-install and hook up. I mean, the hardware was easy to install. I just had to run a few Ethernet cables to get everything connected. And then once I got the Omada software installed, the Wi-Fi setup was easy, and then getting in and configuring most of the way the access points were self-configurable. I just had to adopt the 2 access points that are out in the shop, and once that was set up, I didn't have to do much more. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the TP-Link Omada network. For the access, to be able to not have to bury a cable from the garage to the house and get internet access out there is really helpful for me. Not have to do that work, and just have the wireless connection, the Wi-Fi bridge between the house and the shop. Oh, and the other neat thing is having the same Wi-Fi network throughout the everything. From the house, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 access points. I'm not exactly sure which ones are all portraying or exporting a Wi-Fi signal. I don't know if the one on the exterior of the garage actually is or not. I think that might be just receiving signal. I'm not really sure. But having that Wi-Fi signal, at least 3 access points where your devices just bounce between them, kind of like cell towers. You don't even notice any difference. It just all works. You don't have to be grabbing a different router per se and connecting to them manually. It's all automatic. So that was a pretty fun install. I'm happy to get that hooked up and running, and if I have any more updates in the future, I certainly will bring them out on the videos. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, have a good one. Be safe, be healthy, be good. Thank you. Bye.